everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Review. It's the OSG Sports College Football Podcast featuring us, the online sports guys. Today, it's a three-for at least to start things off. Brother John, Brother Marty, and me, Brother Phil. We are part of the OSG Sports team, and we're talking college football on a weekend with lots and lots of action. But before we get into some game stuff, we'll talk a little bit about some of the news of the week. Then we'll go through some of the week's games, and we'll finish things off with a look ahead. And, of course, everybody's favorite segment, college football on a budget. Guys, we talked a little bit over the last couple of weeks about the ever-evolving scandal going on at Michigan. Sign stealing palooza. The latest news being Connor Stallions. Is it Connor Stallions?
Connor Stallions. Connor Stallions.
That just sounds like a B-movie action hero.
Actually, wasn't that the spin-off band Bill and Ted?
Wild Stallions.
And then Connor was like the bassist or something, I'm sure, right?
He splintered off and created Cheating Stallions.
Exactly.
Brought to you by Venmo.
Mr. Stallions resigned his position at the University of Michigan, claiming that he was doing it for the best interest of everybody involved. However, I don't know how much I believe that. Either way, it's an interesting development, that and the coaches in the Big 10/18 trying to put pressure on Commissioner Tony Petitti to take some sort of disciplinary action against Michigan. Do you think that's coming, guys?
I think it's going to be. They basically did Festivus early on Wednesday and Thursday, and they gathered around the poll for an airing of grievances. It just happened to be that the president of the Big Ten was going to Michigan for a non-revenue sport event. So those events kind of coincided rather well. And then there was a nicely worded letter to the Michigan alumni. Oh, wait, no, sorry. A nicely worded letter to the Big Ten saying that, you should let the NCAA handle this after the season.
Oh, boy.
It's something different every day. It's like it's getting beyond memes and stuff. It's just.
What's beyond a meme? Fact?
Well, there's like crystal clear pictures of him holding.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's holding a board with people doing hand gestures.
And what was the thing at Central Michigan where he's like wearing Michigan gear head to toe?
Okay.
And
there's a step beyond that.
Okay.
Look at the picture again.
Yeah.
Look at his sunglasses.
Yeah, they got like the blue light on the right eye.
Yeah. Okay. Now go to Ray-Ban.com and look at their recording sunglasses for doing videos. They have a blue dot on the corner.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
What you should mention that, because we were at a concert last night at State Farm Arena here in Atlanta, and the guy sitting next to us had those sunglasses or those Ray-Ban glasses on.
Ooh. Very nice.
Usually used for skate videos and going down the slopes and whatnot. But good for espionage too. Except for the glowing blue light.
Allegedly. Alleged espionage, sir. We have to
gaff tape.
Have to protect our flanks.
And I saw when I was doing my morning reading this morning, I saw that was it University of New Mexico put something up on their scoreboard
and their jumbotron. Yeah, I saw that. they did a welcome to Cutters down.
If you're here.
And then in parentheses it said probably.
Stuff.
It's totally untrue. They just did a complete turnaround of the program for the same amount of time that they allegedly cheated. One that has nothing to do with the other.
And the one time that somebody figured out what they were doing before they actually played, they changed their signals and beat the crap.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
I know. And it's like, after they everyone knew they were cheating, they all of a sudden play Purdue closer than they normally would.
Wow,
wow, their offensive players struggled not knowing what defense was coming. That's weird.
I'm
I
shocked.
don't know really how you can do anything other than laugh. Although,
Drop the hammer. That's what you can do.
yeah.
I mean, you should get penalized just for being that stupid.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna pay some people off and then leave it on my Venmo public.
I mean, that's just that's right there. That is absolutely and positively intelligent. Yeah.
At least he was smart enough to shave his beard and shave his head after the Central Michigan game so that he looked different at the home game.
And later in the show, I'll visit with Brother Wilkie, and we'll talk about this as well. I know he has some thoughts about how this is all developed. Guys, we'll go ahead and get into a busy week of games because there were quite a few teams with some interesting results. We'll go ahead and start really with the top two teams, Georgia and Ohio State. Ohio State with a little harder than you would have expected win over Rutgers, 35-16. It took some work in the second half for the Buckeyes to kind of pull away from a determined Rutgers team.
Noon kick and Piscataway, Marty. That's the only thing I can figure.
Yeah, their defense is solid. They just looked like Ohio State was playing with their food again. They were down a couple guys. You were missing your starting tight end, Cade. Yeah, Cade Stover's a real he's a bit of a beast, and I think they're just kind of his knee was banged up a little bit. He was suited up, but he had a brace on. I think they're just saving him. And then they were down 2 safeties, and by the end of the game, they were down 3. But they held on, did all right. I was not liking it. I think there's the first time all year that they actually weren't leading at the half.
Yeah, it was one of those where you're thinking, is it going to be that backdoor cover? For those that believe in those kinds of things, that was kind of hovering right there at the end. But Ohio State gets that score in the fourth quarter to get them over the margin, and so everybody's Thanksgiving appetizer was saved with the late touchdown in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and I got to give respect out to Rutgers. Their running back was looking like a beast. He had a game of his life.
24 carries, 159 yards. Not a bad day's work. The other top team in action that struggled as well a little bit, the Georgia Bulldogs. They beat Missouri 30-21 in Athens, but Missouri gave them one heck of a fight.
Much like Shingles, Kirby doesn't care. Kirby Smart does, apparently, from what I understand, when it comes to Thanksgiving side dishes, Kirby Smart and the University of Georgia, under his tenure, have the worst numbers against the spread when we're discussing Thanksgiving appetizers and food plates. He does not care. He is working for the last 3 games of the season. He's trying to see about things situationally, what works, what doesn't. If he wins by 9, he hasn't covered. Kirby doesn't care. They've won. They're moving on. They're on to the next. They're focusing on the championship game in their conference, the national semifinal, and the game that will get them a possible that could get them a chance at a possible three-peat. This regular season stuff and going up against the number in the Thanksgiving food dishes, he doesn't care. Bottom line, end of the day, Missouri accounted themselves well. Kirby doesn't care. They won. They're moving on. This discussion that we have every single week, hey, Georgia didn't cover. The other team played really well. Yeah, because Kirby, much like Shingles, doesn't care.
Their last 2 of their last 3 games are going to be a bit of a challenge, though. They got Ole Miss coming in Athens next week, and then they have to go on the road to Neyland Stadium and take on Tennessee.
That would be the stumble. I think that if there's any kind of a stumble, it would be against the folks in Knoxville. But once again, look at the number, take the dog, the underdog in this. Do not take Georgia in this. Look at the number coming from your favorite juice box purveyor. Take the underdog each time.
They will never cover.
Nope, and they don't care.
He's doing his part to help discourage gambling in the state of Georgia.
Attaboy.
Plus, the only thing that matters, let's see, look directly under Georgia, 9-0. That's it. It's the only stat you need.
Yes.
Arguably, the best game of the day took place out in Los Angeles on Saturday evening. the Washington Huskies go down to LA, and they come away with a 52-42 win over the USC Trojans, who I'm pretty sure couldn't stop the three of us plus 9 other pieces of wood.
And
Yeah, so was that 11-man football or was that 7-on-7?
I know, really. I mean, legitimately, Lincoln Riley felt compelled that the great idea for him would be to bring his defensive coordinator from Oklahoma with him to Southern Cal.
The guy that failed at 2 or 3 other major programs?
Correct.
Okay, just double checking.
So
I've been burned by that man.
So you want to talk about the Grinch that stole Christmas? This is a Grinch that stole back-to-back Heisman trophies, and Caleb Williams being the number 1 pick in the draft.
That's the Grinch that stole paychecks, is what that is.
Yes.
Here's a statistic that will tell you just how bad USC's defense is. Dylan Johnson for Washington had 26 carries, 256 yards, and 4 touchdowns as a running back. Of those 256 yards, 199 of them came before he even made contact with anybody.
You know it's bad when the box score has a poop emoji on the defensive stats. Unbelievable.
Not wrong.
Doesn't happen.
What D2 schools he can be working at next year? I'm shocked he didn't get fired last night. Maybe today.
Maybe, I mean, legitimately, it should have been on the tarmac. And honestly, same thing should be said for LSU. And it's just the LSU defensive coordinator and the Grinch that's stealing paychecks out at Southern Cal. They should have been tarmacked a long time ago.
Going down the list here, and I got to see the very end of this game, which was bananas. Texas holds off Kansas State 33-30 in overtime because Kansas had the ball inside the 5-yard line in overtime. And instead of trying to kick the field goal to tie the game and move it to another overtime, they went for the win. And it backfired.
Hey, I'm all for it. I give him respect for doing that. It takes stones. You got the chance right there. Why stretch it out? If you can take down a team like that, you got nothing to lose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just, you're in a hostile environment. You're on the road, and to keep from prolonging this and going to multiple overtimes where you're trying to figure things out, you go for the kill one way or the other. You get it done early. If you win, great. If you don't, you've accounted yourself well, and you don't really get penalized. I don't think that much when it comes to the rankings.
Yeah. Do you think your defense is going to hold them to a field goal twice?
Yeah.
Go for the uppercut.
Damned analytics.
That's just stones. There's no analytics there. I got to give him credit for that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Other crazy game of the day is Bedlam, and a fitting title. The last game of the series goes to Oklahoma State in Stillwater, 27-24. They get the win.
Yeah, on a job call that should have been made in the end zone that wasn't. Oh, that should have been a pass interference call in the end zone. That was one of the bad calls of the day.
I'm going to throw it back to our first episode of the season, and I think we mentioned 2 teams that are going to go to the SEC, and what you think calls are going to do, going their way or not going their way.
Yeah, subtle hints thrown about that in the offseason.
But I can't think of a game this year didn't have a crap call, so I have zero sympathy.
Mm-hmm. No, it's Bedlam. You're leaving, and here comes your black helicopters. And why should you leave on a good note? And now, of course, Coach Gundy will be sure to remind all of us that they won the last Bedlam win of the 119 editions. I think Oklahoma won 96 of them.
Yeah, I was going to say Oklahoma won 15 of the last 18 going into that game.
That's just a shame. That rivalry's been going for over 100 years.
Yeah.
How do you blow that?
Welcome to college football.
Another nail-biter game in Mississippi. Ole Miss gets the win over John's favorite coach, the coach at Texas A&M, 38-35.
I laughed hysterically. I mean, you've got when you have a staff that has 2 quitters and someone who
if I call Bobby Petrino a quitter, I might call him a few other things, but
you leave a Dear John note on your players on your players' chairs, and you're out the door, and you have one of the creepiest press conferences ever known to mankind. You've got a quitter, you've got a blanking quitter, and you've got DJ Durkin as your defensive coordinator. Really?
Yeah,
If that doesn't scream Texas, I don't know what does.
All they need is Brian Kelly on that staff.
yeah, it doesn't scream Texas; it screams axis of evil.
Yeah, there's part of that. There's part of that too. I mean,
I'm having Super Friends flashbacks and seeing those guys in that little hall.
Uh-huh.
The Legion of Doom.
Your Google search for today kids is Jordan McNair. That's all I have to say.
Indeed.
There's that uppercut we talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. With those three, that is Brutus, Cassius, and Caesar. I mean, legitimately, it is. It is absolutely Brutus, Cassius, and Caesar when it comes to those three in College Station.
All other games involving ranked teams that were of some interest this weekend. Clemson bounces back with a win over Notre Dame. Granted, the game was in Clemson, 31-23. Dabo Swinney kind of had an interesting week, for lack of a better way to put it.
Tyler from Spartanburg was the league leader in getting cheers on social media, I believe.
The thing I find interesting about this game is Sam Hartman, who was the NIL quarterback for Notre Dame, after playing for 4 years at Wake Forest and losing each and every time he played Clemson, comes in with a Notre Dame team, and then he loses to Clemson. So he's going to end his college football career 0-5.
5 for 5
against the Tigers.
It's not easy to lose 5 times to a team while you're getting a 4-year degree.
5 times.
All right, Booker. You and Ernest.
Hey, I was on a 6-year plan. That's fine.
You and Ernest the
but
cat.
Damn.
That's a rare talent right there, going 5 for 5 at 2 different schools.
Indeed. A couple other interesting games. The Colorado Buffaloes, the early season darlings of network TV, fall to 4-5 after a 26-19 loss to Oregon State.
Yeah.
Chaos going on in Boulder.
Buffalo.
With the Buffaloes.
Yeah.
With the Buffaloes. Coach Prime seems to be not handling the pressure here very well, even though he had a team that was never going to be much better than this.
No, I think that, and you talked about busy weeks, and you rearrange your coordinators' chairs. You bring Pat Shurmur down from the booth. You put a headset on him, and I think Tim Brewster was the one who was reassigned because you can only have 10 coaches on headsets. So you think that Pat Shurmur can help you out offensively. Defense is playing lights out. Especially at home, and they were down 7-0 after 1, but you've got to address some things, and they will. They've got to address some things on the offensive line because I think Shadur Sanders had to run for his life for the 98th week in a row behind that offensive line. He's not getting any time to complete the offense that we saw on the road against TCU. Regardless of how they finished this season, and I thought that they should have won the Stanford game. I thought they would have finished 6-6, maybe stolen a game and gotten to 7-5. They are still markedly better than they were over the last handful of years.
For sure.
They've still got to address the issues with the offensive line and figure out how to do things offensively. This is a work in progress. Take what is happening here as an improvement, and the fact that they, don't do a complete and total 180 and go 10-2. Just don't be surprised by something like that. Let the improvement be gradual. Let them do their thing, and just have faith in what they're doing. When you have faith in coaches and the process, all you've got to do is look at my alma mater, as much as I don't want to look at my coach, and sit there and it's like, look, the administration backed him up, let him do his thing, and you're seeing what they're doing 4 years down the line. Just be patient with what Dion and that staff want to do, but you've got to address the issues on the offensive line to get anything going offensively on that team.
Yeah, you got to establish a culture, and that's that's part of their struggle is, the players they don't have that bond of seasons together and off seasons together. They all just kind of got thrown together this year. Mm-hmm. That's when your line's going to gel. Plus, there were shots off the bow towards the O-line last week when they mentioned the transfer portal.
Yeah, I mean, a program isn't built in 8 games, and you just gonna have to ride it out. One last ranked team before we get into a couple other teams here, as we've got a couple minutes left to go in this block, guys. Big upset in Colorado Springs as the Army Black Knights show up and take down what was a ranked Air Force team 23-3 behind Bryson Daly with 100. He's the quarterback, by the way. Ran for 170 yards on 36 carries. Big win.
Good on them. First time in 52 years that they beat a top 25 team on the road, I think. And back goes like 1970 is like in 1971 or 1972 was the last time they did something like that. Big win for them. And I know that a lot of folks were looking at Air Force early on before we started having CFP numbers as maybe that team that's going to run the table and be the non-Power 5 entry into New Year's Day. That's not going to happen right now.
No, it is not.
No. What else? What other game did you have, sir?
A couple other games of note here before we wrap things up. Wish Wilkie was with us early in the show to talk about this. His Arkansas Razorbacks with a big win in Gainesville over the Gators, 39-36 in overtime.
How about Kenny Guyton?
Oh, man.
New coordinator. Nice.
See what happens when you let KJ be KJ? Strange how this works. They had 2 scores immediately in the first quarter. One was on a I think it was in a pick after the initial score. So they were up 14-0 before that game really got underway. I don't know how Billy Napier makes it to the 24 season. I really don't. And they've got to get rid of those black unis.
Yeah, the blackout thing didn't work very well for them, but
it doesn't work in the SEC in general.
Yeah. Having been at a few games where those color theme nights have come into play, they almost never work.
Nope. If you're thinking about dress black uniforms, don't do it, athletic director.
Do not do it at all. Just ask Mark Richt and the Georgia Bulldogs about that from back in 2007.
Oh yeah, they did it on a hot day too, didn't they?
No, they did it against Alabama.
Oh yeah, goodness.
After the Auburn game in Athens on CBS, they broke them out again and then got just destroyed by Alabama.
Yeah, Tennessee's their black ones were not good.
It never, ever.
I like Ohio State's all black.
Works.
They're all whites look good.
As he sits here and tries to fish for more games.
Yeah, I'm sitting there scrolling down, see if there's anybody else worth of mentioning.
Iowa and Northwestern.
Oh God, that game set college football back decades. Oh, Iowa gets the win 10-7 in a game played in at Wrigley Field where there's been baseball games with more points scored.
Yeah, Chicago's Cubs actually are the highest scoring offense this year at that field.
Yes. Well, and the best part was apparently at the half, and I cannot take full credit for this. I think our friends at Sickos get the credit for this one. At the half, both teams had combined for 110 yards of total offense, a distance Usain Bolt can cover in 9.58 seconds.
Yeah, and it's a bad game when neither team's quarterback was able to account for over 100 yards.
Oh, that was fabulous. At one point, what was it? The one quarterback was 8 of 13 for 34 yards passing. Total passing. Here we go. Deacon Hill, 10 of 15 for 65, 1-1. Brendan Sullivan and team actually went 0 for 1 for Northwestern. So Northwestern went 12 of 20 for 81 yards and another touchdown. So on the day, 22 of 35, 146 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. That's both quarterbacks passing games, people. That's both quarterbacks.
Neither team able to accumulate neither team crossed the 200-yard barrier in total offense. That tells you everything you need to know. Guys, it's time to wrap up here in the first block of the show. We've gone through some weird stuff, some crazy stuff, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. When we come back in the second half of the show, it's everybody's favorite segment, college football on a budget. plus a look ahead to next week's game. We'll visit with Brother Wilkie to get his thoughts on the week. All that and more when we return for the second half of the review. You are listening to the review on the OSG Sports Podcasting Network.
Please like and subscribe.
Over here in the OSG Sports side of things, we talk football. FOOTBALL. College football version here with the college football review every single week. But for those of you that like not just football with two O's, but football with a U, FUTBOL, there's the Soccer Down Here Network. I'm John Nelson. I host the morning show on Soccer Down Here along with Jarrett Smith, Nick Alifi, Jason Longshore. And if you're looking for the best information when it comes to the world of soccer, based in the southeastern United States, but we don't leave anything off the table. 9:05 Eastern time until 11 whenever. Sometimes we go for a while. SDH Network morning show, soccer's morning show, Monday through Friday, plus all the live events we do. It is your place and your source for soccer that is based in the Southeast, but covers everything on the world. SoccerDownHere.net, the Soccer Down Here app, available iOS and Android through our friends at Spreaker. That's like speaker with an R in the middle. Spreaker, do a search for OSG Sports. Do a search for Soccer Down Here. All the soccer content all in one place. It is the SDH Network and Soccer Down Here.
Thanks for sticking around, everybody. You have made it to the second half of the show. And joining me to start things off, Brother Wilkie, from his backyard, where it is absolutely fantastic looking November day out there.
Perfect autumn afternoon.
I hope you got to catch a little bit of football action this weekend. I wanted to get your thoughts on a couple of things. The first being, we talked a few episodes ago when you were with Marty and I, and we talked a little bit about Michigan. And I want to get your thoughts now as things have kind of developed over the last couple of weeks, because initially your thought, and I got where you were coming from, was that what does it really matter? They could just change the signs, or they can just have them send a player in to give the call.
Yeah, I still haven't changed my position. I mean, it happens on every level. It's just, it isn't as blatant, and usually you keep it on the down low. But there is some real jealousy, and we're seeing outright hatred toward the Michigan program from non-Ohio State people. And this is kind of their fodder now, especially during the Jim Harbaugh era. I mean, the guy has been successful at every level he's coached. It took him a while in Michigan. It's just the nature of the beast. But what we're finding out is there is some real dislike toward Michigan. And this is just more fuel to the fire for that. But really right now, Michigan is, undefeated, looks great. But what do you hear? You hear, hey, they haven't played anybody, which is true. They really haven't. Well, now they're going to start playing some people in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, they go to Happy Valley this coming weekend.
Yes, after I watched a little of the Purdue game. They were clicking on all cylinders, but now it's this is where the rubber meets the road. They go to Penn State. The intriguing game to me, Phil, is Maryland, because that's sandwiched in between Penn State and Ohio State. And let's say they get the win against Penn State, but they're beat up. It's not going to be easy going to College Park. And are they going to be looking ahead toward Ohio State? I mean, that's the rivalry game. And then again, that is the rivalry game. And, my philosophy in rivalry games is doesn't matter what the records are. It's
anything
can happen. So this is what we're going to find out about Michigan. If they are for real, if they are this good. It wouldn't shock me if they beat Penn State. But I would look more toward that Maryland game because, we always talk about sandwich games in college basketball. This is the closest I can think of that kind of game in college football.
You talked about rivalry games. Did you get a chance to see what happened in Bedlam this weekend?
Yes.
Crazy win for Oklahoma State.
Well, here's the thing, because I've got friends and family members that are OSU Cowboys. And by the way, they're probably still partying in Stillwater right now. And you saw the craziness in the locker room after the game. But this rivalry has been so dominated by Oklahoma. Over 90 wins over Oklahoma State in 117 years. The OSU got the last one. And not only did they have that where OU can no longer get revenge, or however you want to say it, the last game was OSU's game. And not only that, but you probably prevented Oklahoma from going into the college football playoff and even competing for a Big 12 championship. OSU now can compete for a Big 12 championship because now they're right on Texas's heels. And I think that would be a great matchup to watch as well. Everything just went perfect for Oklahoma State. You're talking about the non-call pass interference calls during the game. Here's my thought on that. I've mentioned throughout this podcast that Oklahoma and Texas are going to start seeing officials probably look the other way or tend to have calls for their opponent, because there's probably jealousies throughout the Big 12 of those two programs moving to the SEC. And I think we kind of saw that. It was kind of reminiscent of the Southwest Conference days with Arkansas, because it seemed like they were always getting calls against them with Texas referees.
It's interesting you bring that up. Marty said almost the exact same thing in the first half of the show when we were talking about this game.
I've been there. I've seen it. There are jealousies even among the officials. And I can see that, you're going to leave for the SEC. We're going to give OSU a break here.
Here's a question for you about another game that went down to the wire in the Big 12/14/10, or however many teams are there.
Insert your number here.
Texas gets the win over Kansas State 33-30. Kansas State had the ball in overtime inside the 5-yard line, 4 downs to score, and couldn't do it. And they didn't try to go for the field goal to extend the game. They went for it all. Would you have done that?
Well, let's backtrack a little bit. K-State had a chance to win in regulation, but missed the extra point. And that field goal toward the end of regulation that K-State kicked was for a tie rather than for the win. So I can't fault K-State for what they did. I would have gone for the win rather than going for the field goal. But that's me. I'm going to gamble. K-State had nothing to lose and everything to gain on that 4th down call. So I can't fault Chris Kleiman for doing what he did. You're in the den of Darrell K. Royal Memorial Stadium, and he saw an opportunity to perhaps get the win, and the play was dead from the snap, just kind of disintegrated on K-State. So no, I'm not going to fault Chris Kleiman for that call.
Any other games you got wind of that jumped off the table to you here?
Well, obviously for me, Arkansas defeating Florida in a game that exhausted me. Scoring 14 points in the first 5 minutes on a touchdown drive and a pick six had me pretty excited. But I was really impressed with the character of Arkansas in that game after what they've gone through, getting rid of Dan Enos as offensive coordinator, all the negativism that's been going on in that program. And here they got the win, first win ever at the Swamp. You got to win out to get a bowl game, and they still got some tough games ahead of them, Missouri being one of them. There's still some work to be done, but It was good to see some good things happening there.
Yeah, it was. There's going to be a lot of conversation down in Gainesville about the future of Billy Napier, despite the fact that he's in his second season there. Florida has been known to turn coaches quickly, which isn't always the best way to build a program.
You're right, and I really thought Billy Napier was going to have better success at Florida. We kind of saw him at your wife's alma mater, Louisiana, have success there. And we thought, okay, that's the apprenticeship there for him to go to the SEC, and it just hadn't worked out. But it, you'd know more than I would, Phil, you being from Florida. That's a tough place to win. Steve Spurrier and Urban Meyer did it because they both had systems, and they both attracted top talent. Now Billy Napier is competing against Florida State, Miami, Florida Atlantic, FIU, South Florida, Central Florida. They're competing with more schools now in state for the in-state talent. So I think that's kind of eroding into Florida's talent base. And I just mentioned Florida State because for me, it's kind of nice to see them back in the top 4 and in the national championship picture. I was thinking about that when I caught a few snaps of the Pitt game. It's nice to see the Seminoles back. I don't know how Nelson feels. He's been kind of down on his alma mater for a while, but for me, it's glad to see. I'm happy to see the Garnet and Gold back competing for a national title.
He finally admitted that he's kind of excited to see the fact that they built the program instead of just churning through coaches until somebody had some luck.
Exactly. And an interesting thing here, Phil, if the divisions were still intact in the ACC and the season ended today, Florida State would be playing Georgia Tech for the ACC championship.
Yeah, how crazy would that be?
I can tell you what the crowd would look like at Bank of America Stadium, but other than that, it'd be pretty wild.
Want to look ahead a little bit to next week. Some big games, some big matchups that are kind of settle some conference discussions. We talked a little bit earlier about Michigan traveling to Happy Valley to take on Penn State, but you got some other games that could determine a lot of things. One of them to me that stuck out, and we'll talk about it a little bit later in the show when John and Marty return, is Tennessee and Missouri. Two teams that still have their seasons in front of them, really.
Yeah, and so that game is
it's in Columbia.
Hang on, it's in Columbia. All right, yeah, I had to schedule up and I had the wrong week up. Yeah, it's in Columbia. Tennessee's coming off a cupcake win over UConn. Missouri coming off that emotional loss to Georgia. The Tigers were in that game up until the end, so they've got to regroup. It helps that they're in Columbia. This is another SEC legacy that they have a chance to upend and stay within shouting distance of Georgia in the SEC East and get a good bowl game. I expect a raucous crowd in Columbia, probably the most raucous I've ever seen. I've been watching Mizzou football since birth. But I just think Tennessee's got momentum going their way and better, not better players, but probably more depth than Mizzou. My heart wants Missouri to win, but I just think I got to go with my head in this one. I think Tennessee's going to win it.
I think for me, I think Missouri, if they're not hungover after that Georgia game, which was a tough physical game that kind of went down to the fourth quarter, if they're not hungover from that, I think they have a chance of winning. I was really impressed with what I saw with Brady Cook. Luther Burden, if his ankle is not really bothering him, is one of the best wide receivers in the country. And
yeah, they've got some really good components on offense. Again, my heart's with Mizzou, but Tennessee kind of came out unscathed at home against UConn. Missouri, I think the hangover lingers. I mean, that's just how I feel. I know, and I hope not. I would love to see the goalposts come down in Columbia, but I got to be realistic. And Tennessee is playing really well right now.
And I think before we go, I want to see if there's any other games for you that jump out, because we're going to toss it back to the rest of the show here in a couple of minutes. Couple of matchups, mostly in conference. You got some good Pac-12 games. Arizona State going to UCLA, USC and Oregon. I would have thought would have been, before the season started, would have been a marquee game, but USC has been brutal on defense.
Yeah. Well, a couple intrigued me right off the bat. Oklahoma State going to Central Florida. We've talked about hangovers, but UCF is tough. It is a tough draw at home, and Oklahoma State. They're probably regretting the South Alabama loss right now. Come to think of it, but that's a tough road there for Oklahoma State to back up the win over OU. So that game intrigues me. The other game intrigues me is Utah going to Washington to play the Huskies. I remember I saw some comments from Washington's coach about the USC game being, we got to make some stops. They were able to do that. With Utah, it's a completely different preparation for Washington. Utah is very methodical, conservative, and like SEC teams, they have big and athletic linemen. They've had some injury issues at Utah, but there's still a tough out for anybody in the Pac-12. I'd say Utah gives them a really tough game. Washington probably prevails because Michael Penix Jr. says that good. I think it's going to be one of the more entertaining games to watch next week. And then Miami, Florida State are playing. Come on.
When is that game not exciting?
Exactly. I mean, come on. I mean, even in off years when they're both are down, that game provides some great entertainment.
As long as Miami doesn't have the ball with a lead or with a chance to win the game late, as long as they take a knee.
Exactly. Or a last second field goal by Florida State.
Anything else before we wrap things up here?
No, that's about it.
All right. Well, thanks for jumping on for a little while. We're glad to have you on the show. And we're going to toss it back to Marty and John, and we're going to go through some more games. And of course, everybody's favorite segment, I just blanked out on the word. The bargain basement
College football budget.
Football on a budget. And we're back to take a look ahead at what comes up in the coming week of college football, guys. We'll start, I guess, really, we've got the usual MAC action here on Tuesday and Wednesday. Nothing particularly interesting on Thursday and Friday, but then you jump into Saturday's schedule, and right out of the blocks, first game of the day, the Ole Miss Rebels travel to Athens to take on the Georgia Bulldogs.
And Kirby doesn't care.
But it's Kiffkins.
Doesn't matter. Maybe they boost it up and over. Get in price at $290, by the way, right now.
Woo!
This one, I think maybe the play will be the over more than anything else. But I don't think that Kirby. I think that Kirby doesn't care, and I think that Georgia still wins. I don't think they'll make the number.
Yeah, and Ole Miss is going to miss winning.
Yeah, Georgia wins but doesn't cover because they never cover. It's how they roll.
Correct.
Yeah, they're ranked number 2, but they're definitely the best team.
I don't think there really is a dominant team this year. I think there's just a lot of pretty good teams, but that's about it. another featured game this coming week, John, one of your favorites, the Miami-Florida State game.
Thanks for the reminder. Thanks
Florida
for the
Man Bowl.
Thank you. Get in price at $112. I legitimately thought that the Pitt game with Florida State might be the November stumble, and since it hasn't yet, no, it was not. It was, it was 7-7 for a long time, and then Florida State distances themselves up in Pittsburgh. So that November stumble game is still in play. And until we get into December, I'm still going to have the November stumble game over my left shoulder, whispering in my ear. I don't
get comfortable.
Yeah, basically. So, I mean,
but Mario Cristobal doesn't take a knee, so it won't matter.
And NC State was a dog, and they pretty much knocked the dog out of the University of Coral Gables. I don't know which team legitimately is going to show up from there to be at Doak Campbell. Is it going to be a team that's going to be competitive for a full 60 minutes, or once they come in with their plan and get punched in the mouth, they don't know how to respond? So, this could be team chaos, at least early on before things settle in. But I don't know if I would take the number, and I would probably go under on the total with Miami and Florida State, because you would be assuming that Miami would be scoring points, and I don't know if they do that.
There's no way they're stopping the running game.
No. I like Florida State in this game. I don't think it's going to be particularly close either. Some other interesting matchups, some SEC football out in Columbia, Missouri. The Missouri Tigers, off their tough loss to the Georgia Bulldogs, welcome the Tennessee Volunteers to Columbia, and what could be a pretty interesting game.
Mm-hmm.
2-7-2 teams.
Could be.
Two better than
on the shoulders.
I still can't figure out how Georgia ends up playing these three teams, Tennessee, Missouri, and Georgia, all end up playing each other in a 3-week span.
Blame the schedule makers, and if not, the TV contractors as well, to try to orchestrate what's going on here.
Yeah, because they got to play their D2 schools at the last game of the season.
Yeah, next to last is the homecoming game, where you sit there and you cut a paycheck for $950,000 to somebody who's going to get beaten, and so
insert your favorite directional.
Correct. Correct.
Moving on to some Big 10/18 action. Michigan travels to Happy Valley to take on Penn State.
Can we have our Bane moment for this one here, Marty? Can we have our Bane Heinz Field moment with this one, legitimately?
My goodness. That is going to be so loud. I just wish that was a night game. I really wish that was a night game. That's going to be. There's going to be some anger unleashed on that sideline against Michigan. They better put some sort of barrier up there, not just for stopping people from looking at their signs, but to protect them from batteries. And good luck if it snows or something crazy.
Yeah, get in price $142.
Oof.
I would love to pick Penn State.
You need to factor in that there's only like 75 total hotel rooms.
Yeah, you literally have to fly into Harrisburg or into Pittsburgh, and if you fly into Pittsburgh, you might get a hotel room. If you fly into Harrisburg, I think there's only like 2 flights a day, and good luck getting a rental car in Harrisburg, and good luck getting a car and getting there and trying to find a place to park.
The only time anybody from my family successfully went to a game there is when we stayed with other family that lived there.
Yet they put 100,000 plus people into that stadium every weekend. I would love to be able to pick a Penn State upset here, but I just don't see them being able to score a whole lot of points against Michigan.
Well, here's the thing: is you don't have that extra person with a headset telling you whether it's going to be a run or a pass. So this is going to be Michigan's first real test. I mean, when they did the college football announcement last week, their signature win was against Rutgers.
Yeah, I was going to say they've been pretty much playing cupcakes all season long until they got a little bit of a test against Rutgers. This is going to be a much bigger one.
Yeah,
I'm going to schadenfreude watch this one.
Get up early. It's a noon kick.
Yeah, that it is. Couple other interesting games on the board here. featuring some ranked teams. I would say USC and Oregon would be an interesting matchup, except for the fact that USC doesn't play defense and Oregon plays offense a lot of it.
Take the over. Easiest play on the board. I can't wait. I can't wait to see what the early number is on that one. Oh my God.
I would love to see USC and Iowa in a bowl game. Like, would there be an explosion because like matter and antimatter just come into contact?
There absolutely would.
They need to have that out in the desert, like some sort of bomb test.
Oh, so then what you do is you have it. Well, then you'd have to have it out. Well, no, if you had it outdoors at Sam Boyd or Bishop Gorman, then that way you could at least have, the matter go up into the air, because if you had it in Vegas at Allegiant, then everything would be self-contained inside and kept inside the dome. That would be the problem.
Vegas should sponsor that. I mean, think of the bets you could have, like with Iowa actually scoring touchdowns.
Score touchdown. How about get a first down?
Granted, that could be one of the signs of the apocalypse coming, that they put up more than single digits on any stat.
True. Absolutely true. What other games you got on your mind before we go to the importantest games of the week?
Oh, what else? There was one I was just looking at that stuck out to me as an interesting matchup. And there it is. Utah traveling to Seattle to take on the Washington Huskies.
I think UW gets this one done because, once again, Cam Rising's out for the year, so you're still trying to figure out how you can navigate things offensively with probably a 2-quarterback system for Kyle Whittingham. And this is Michael Penix's year to try to sit there and get the large award from the Downtown Athletic Club. So I think he's going to try and put up a number, and it will be a fun game to watch. Do not get me wrong, but I think that it's going to be problems for Utah. Actually, sorry, it's at Husky Stadium. So no, I think that this is a showcase game for Michael Penix. I think they try to put up a number, get in price $37, by the way.
Not bad.
It's out of our budget, but we'd still take that.
Yeah,
that's kind of a bargain. Speaking of budgets, it's time for your segment, your favorite segment, my favorite segment, and everybody else's favorite segment, college football on a budget.
Yes.
John, take it away. What do we got?
Traditionally, here's what we do. We always like to sit there and look at $9 or below for our games. And then Marty, with his trusty cup, will let us know, for the price of a soda in most Division I Power 5 institutions, you can go watch a game or drink a soda. So here we go. And actually, to Phil's credit, he started the segment off by letting everybody know Ball State and Northern Illinois into Calb, Illinois on Tuesday night. Maction for $3, Marty.
In.
Okay.
$3. Well, but you got your deep dish pizza.
Mm-hmm.
You got Maction.
Yeah.
They're gonna score more than Iowa.
That's 3 things already. All right. And so we have Maction hitting us twice actually on Wednesday. 7:00, Bowling Green at Kent. It is 5-4 at 1-8. Tickets as low as $8 at Dick's Stadium in Kent, Ohio. Marty, don't laugh.
I'm going to take that one. Kent State they were a geographic rival. They weren't really a football rival for Youngstown State. They quit playing us because they got tired of losing to lower division. I'll go just to jeer Kent State.
Okay. And then at 7:30 on
nice campus, by the way.
Yeah, 7:30 on the Deuce. And by the way, the goldenrod unis that Kent broke out last week, they need to be put away. Eastern Michigan and Toledo 4-5 at 8-1 at the Glass Bowl in Toledo, Ohio. Now, if they actually did have some glass blowing classes in the Glass Bowl, I think that might be interesting. $6.
Well, they're probably got some players taking that class, but I'm going to take that just to boo a Michigan team.
There you go.
Sectional one.
Yes.
It's November. It's time to do that.
Thursday in Louisville at Cardinal Stadium, Virginia 2-7 at number 13, Louisville 8-1. Get in price $5.
I'm taking that.
If
you live in Louisville, you've got a top 15 team. It is $5 to get there. Go.
Mm-hmm.
Pure and simple. Go. You have a good team.
That easy to get.
That's
a shame.
Get in there, get some seats and have some fun. Speaking of get in there, get some seats and have some fun, we have a return visitor for Football on a Budget, Marty. Noon Eastern Saturday. We're now into our Saturday games on ESPN2. Yeoman Stadium, New Orleans, Louisiana. I don't think I need to go any further for you. Tulsa and number 24, Tulane. Get in price. $3.
Bing,
That's
bing, 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 bing. How do you not go to that game? How is it that
play
low?
on the board.
Easiest play on the board. Go to Tulsa and Tulane. Marty's going to get 6 tickets. He's going to spend $20, and he's going to be surrounded by his wife and family in empty spaces, and he's got New Orleans at his disposal. $3 to see the number 24 team in the country.
I'm going to do cardboard cutouts of family members
At
and
that
put them
price,
next to us.
that ticket price leaves plenty of money to go eat and drink on Bourbon Street.
Correct. And that is a far cry from noon on the B1G network in Champaign, $8, Indiana and Illinois.
Friday night, make a new friend down in the French Quarter and take him to the game.
See how Marty's completely
Cheaper than buying him a beer.
Marty has completely ignored Indiana and Illinois, as you should. $8.
Yeah. So is everybody else. That's why it's $8.
Yeah. At the pirate ship on Saturday, noon in the American. Temple at South Florida. Get in price, $8. AccuWeather temperature 71 degrees.
I'm going for the tan.
Okay.
I mean, neither team's very good, but stadium's a fun environment.
And you got Ybor City waiting for you when the game's over.
You have a good time after. You have a good time during. What's not to like?
And it's a good for me. It would be a good excuse to go see some friends down there. So yeah, I'm with you on that one, Marty.
3:30 kick in the B1G, Ross-Ade Stadium, West Lafayette, Indiana, Minnesota, and Perdon't 5-4, visiting 2-7. Get in price in West Lafayette, $5.
No. if you've ever been to that stadium and you need to go to the bathroom, you're better off finding a porta-john in the parking lot. That is the worst stadium, and it's a shame that school is known for engineering. I would never go to that stadium unless those numbers were reversed. They're paying me.
In the middle of nowhere, northern Indiana. Of course, it's a horrible stadium. I just pissed off people in northern Indiana, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. 3:30 in Confusa. New Mexico State, bowl eligible New Mexico State now at 7-3, visiting Hawkins Industries LT Smith Stadium in Bowling Green, Kentucky. New Mexico State at Western. Get in price, $8.
I support Conference USA, and as always, I support Western Kentucky.
A man and his chiggers. By the way, I am waiting for the university to release the gear of each of the individual chigger position groups that we had on the helmets a couple weeks ago. Oh my God, the marketing. Fantastic stuff, and they need to release all of the position groups for gear. Speaking of
amazing.
The Big 12, 10, 14, 16, 18, or however the hell many there are right now.
On two.
Yes, on two, ready, break. And, of course, so I lose okay, so there's New Mexico.
You're talking about Cincinnati and Houston with a get-in price of, let's hear it, for $3.
$3. Go to TDECU for $3 for 2-7 and 4-5.
I already gave them a mercy visit, so I'm going to pass.
There you go. So also in the American at 7:30 on the U, you can go to the Alamo Dome and revisit our friends at Texas San Antonio, who have been also in this segment before for Football on a Budget. 4-5, visit 6-3 Texas San Antonio at the Alamo Dome. Get in price, $8. Stay out of the river.
Definitely stay out of the river. I'm going to take it.
Okay.
Just to see a Texas battle.
10 o'clock on FS1. New Mexico at 3-6, visiting Boise at 4-5. Blue Turf, Albertson Stadium, Potatoes away, $7.
42 degrees. I'm going to take it just because I haven't been to Boise.
Okay. And then
don't really have any interest in going to the city of Boise for anything.
And then our last one on the board is the one that we adjust for inflation and tourism. 11 o'clock kick on the Big Island from the Clarence T.C. Ching Athletics Complex in Honolulu. How does Air Force rebound from losing? They go to Hawaii to take on the Warriors, get in price of $24.
78 degrees at kickoff. I'm taking.
I cannot say the man surprises me. So that is another round of Division I football on a budget. We do not want you to just let us have the information at the Division I level. At 1AA, if there are places to go there. If football on a budget includes your friends at D.II, D.III, and NAIA, please do that as well. We always want you to support your local institutions and go see something that you've never seen before. Go make new friends and invite them to the games as well, considering that's what we're discussing here with football on a budget. And I'm scanning 1AA really quickly.
Missouri, Villanova,
Mhm.
and Stony Brook, all available for $12.
Nice. Okay. So there you go. Working the 1AAs. And once again, go visit a new school, go share a new experience, go get some new friends, and enjoy football on a budget. That's the segment for this week.
But don't steal signs or record the sidelines while you're there.
No, that would be bad.
Because you'll be talked about on
This show.
incessantly on college football podcasts, TV shows, radio shows, and everything in between for the next month and a half.
This show.
Guys, what do you say we wrap things up here for this week's episode of The Review?
Sounds like a plan.
So much going on. There was a lot of ground that we covered between the games over the weekend and the games upcoming. Like John said a little bit earlier, make sure you go check out a game in person. Watching on TV is great, but going to see it in person, there are few things in life that beat being in a big college football stadium. The atmosphere and everything around it is still hard to top. For OSG Nelson, for Brother Marty, I am OSG Phil. We are the OSG Sports Guys, the online sports guys. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and we will be back with you again next week. And yes, John is flashing Birmingham Southern. Save Birmingham Southern. That is all. Be well. We will see you again soon. Bye.
Please like and subscribe and visit us at onlinesportsguys.com.